I am really excited about tonight. I can tell you I have been anticipating it. I think looking at who's here, I think everybody knows our speaker. I was going to prepare an introduction, but I think almost everybody knows him because he's a legend. But I actually met him the first time for me was when I was doing the audio at the Northwest DX convention for the Western Washington Club, and he made a presentation. And then I did it again for him at a Spokane DX one. And that was started my friendship with Jay. And then when I got over here, I found he was just an incredible help and tutor. And of course, he's president of the Eastern Washington Amateur Radio Group. And he's the only person I know, I think, that has an honor roll on RTTY. And of course, he was the co-founder of two of the biggest RTTY contests. So I asked him to do an introduction because I needed the introduction. And one of the nice things about planning the programs for the club, you can ask for things you need. And so I asked him to do that. And I look at who's in the room, and I would say that about 5 of us are the intended audience, and the rest of you guys, I hope you get something out of it, because I told him to plan it for dummies like me, not for some of you guys that are already pros. So with that, I want to just turn it to Jay and express my real appreciation for his help in this and doing RTTY. So Jay, it's all yours. And by the way, I think everybody, if you'll put it in speaker view, you'll actually see better than if you have it when you see all the panes together. So I'd encourage you to do that, and keep your mic muted except when you ask questions. Okay, Jay, it's all yours.
Well, thank you, Mel, for all the kind words. We'll see what we can do. This is a little bit different than many presentations I've done. I think the workshop is going to be a great way to do it. And we're going to go through setting up N1MM Plus. N1MM is the leading RTTY contest program by, I'd say a factor of 1,000. On a typical contest, the vast majority of people who enter it use N1MM. It's not my actual favorite program, but RTTY is one of those things where there's a lot of things involved, and contesting, it's the same. You have many different tools in your toolbox. And if you're going to be a RTTY contester, you certainly need to learn N1MM, and 3 wins in all contest programs. So it's not the oldest, it's not the newest, but it's certainly a very nice program, and it does everything fairly well, I think. It's kind of funny, you go to different things and there's a lot of misinformation out there too. Some people claim that WriteLog was the RTTY program. Well, the truth is WriteLog was a CW program, but Wayne, W5XD, couldn't win a contest. And so a friend of mine, Ron, who's a recent Silent Key, he talked Wayne into putting in RTTY stuff, and it took off from there. And the difference is if you win a few contests, your program gets much more popular. So anyway, we're going to, I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go through setting up N1MM. But before we get started, are there any questions? The silence is deafening. Well, I'll tell you, Salmon Run wasn't that much fun on RTTY for me. I attempted several bands, made, I don't know, 14 cues on 20 meters. I could have worked some more 20 meters, but I wanted to work some counties. And the RBN network picked me up pretty good, but never made a QSO on either 40 or 80. So I guess I'm going to have to look into my antennas up at my remote station. So, well, I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started then with setting up N1MM. I have a PowerPoint that Mel will be sending out that's got all the links for the software. So that the PowerPoint's easy to embed links in, so that works pretty good. The first thing we're going to look at is a friend of mine, Don, writes great tutorials. He is the author of RTTYcontesting.com. I've known Don for probably 40 years. Great guy from Louisiana. I've contested with him several times. And so he has this quick start guide for RTTY. And I'm not one for reinventing much. So recently, when I got reacquainted with N1MM, I went here and followed these directions. They're really step-by-step and quite good. You download the logger. It shows you the name of the website, what exactly to click on. Click here. I mean, it's foolproof for we're just a shade. It's absolute foolproof for getting the program. So that part's fairly easy. The configuration, it's fairly easy. We're going to go through actually doing this. And the good news is I've already done mine. So if anybody has questions, just let me know. So we're going to go through this step by step and do this. I'm going to slide this. I don't know. Is that slid over, Mel?
Yes, it did.
Okay. So I'm going to bring up this is a pretty smart program. It says COM3 for the IC 7410, which is the radio this is hooked to, isn't working. Well, it wasn't working because you need to turn the radio on before you start the program. And it's still not set up, so when in doubt, it's kind of like Windows, you just reboot. So I have the radio on, and now I'm going to start it again. And that's whoops. Well, I've got a lot of stuff on this screen, so. The first thing you do, let me get rid of some of this stuff. Drag it out of the way here. Okay, this is the RTTY screen. And this is the logging screen. Somewhere the log is. Oh, there it is. There's the log. So really one of the nice features about the log let's go to, this is the single nicest thing about N1MN. You go into Tools, and you tell it to restore the window positions, because as you can see, it's all messed up. And it just does that. So this is the log. This is a multiplier screen. I'll drag it out here. But we start here with configuration. And we go into ports. And the very first thing you do is hook up your radio. This radio is on COM3. It's an ICOM 7410. It's got details. Okay, one secret to ICOM radios is that you never let it automatically decide the speed. You set the radio in the menu of the radio to whatever speed you want. I use 19.2. And then you match it when you're interfacing radios. Because most of the automatic things in ICOM radios don't work very well. Okay. That's just the standard N8, and ICOMs are 2 stock bits. This is the radio code for a 7410. And I don't mess with the polling rate. I don't mess with foot switches. This is ready, so that all looks pretty good. So that's the, now.
I got a question on that screen you just had.
Go ahead.
Did you have to, it had a place next to where you had the 7410 to check either CW or other. And I noticed you didn't have either checked. The two little boxes, yeah.
Yeah, no.
You don't have to check those.
No, and I think that will then pick the mode from the radio, whatever it's in, and use it.
Okay.
Hey, Jay.
Yes, go ahead, Dale.
Why are you using 2-bit stubs? Usually it's 1 for ICOMs, isn't it?
Not my icons.
Okay, I just wanted to check.
Yeah, I'm not sure it makes much difference, but
very good.
No particular reason. Okay, now you'll notice it shows up the frequency. And if you type in 7085, and sure enough, right here on this top bar, it tells you the name of your radio and the frequency. So that's all. So the radio is now working.
Hey, Jay.
Yes.
Scott here. Got a question. So I played around with this last night when I downloaded it, and I don't have the settings in front of me, but the bottom line is it shows up the radio on the window or the sub window. So can I assume if the radio's showing up, I got it connected?
If you go to this, the login box,
yeah,
and type in a frequency and hit enter, then you'll know if it's connected, because
it shows the frequency. When I change it, the frequency changes in the screen. So,
perfect. Yeah, it's connected.
All right, thank you.
You bet. Any other questions? Since we're dealing with a lot of icons here, they're all sort of a little interesting. Icons are particularly interesting. And and it'll show you where you are. It shows you over here. This is the band map. and it hooks to packets, so stations show up here. We'll go into that in a second. But so that's the radio. Yes. So one annoying thing is that the screens don't. Okay. Function keys. You can suit yourself on many of these options. Send leading zeros and serial numbers. I never have understood why, so I don't. Stop sending CQ when the call sign is changed. That's okay. This ESM this is one of the neatest things of N1MM, but I don't use that little part. I work dupes. If you're contesting, work 100% of all dupes. I don't have a key that says work before. I don't care if I worked yet. Now, if the guy has worked me 6 times in the last hour, then I start typing and say, hey, buddy, I worked you. Now you're in the log and goodbye. But a normal dupe, you just work. It takes far too long to explain that they're a dupe. And if they don't have you, then you might as well get them in the log. And you never get penalized for dupes. The send corrected call before the end of the QSO, that's a really good thing to do, so check that. In RTTY, I don't send partial calls. The CW spacing, I don't think is and these keys these are pretty much, in fact, here's the QSO before I disabled that. I just think that to me is just not a good idea. Okay, digital modes is where you set up for RTTY. We've set up, in this case, I'll turn this off. So we'll go ahead and set this up. So it's going to be a sound card. You're using the sound card in your radio. You don't have hardware. We could have hardware, but we don't. This is interface 1, right here. Okay. Yeah. MMTTY, it wants to know where it is. It's one of the programs that's on the list that you're going to install, and we're going to select it. So in this case, I keep MMTTY right there. So that's it. That's all there is to that.
Jay,
Now,
may I ask a question?
sure.
Why are you using AFSK instead of FSK?
As far as I can see, this setting has no real meaning.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. We'll have to seek guidance from somebody that's smarter than me on that.
Okay.
I am using FSK, and I don't think that setting has much meaning.
Okay.
But we'll look at it here in a second. So it's selected.
I was gonna add, Jay, that on my Flex, it does make a difference selecting AFSK versus FSK, since the rig is natively capable of FSK.
Okay. That yeah, it's on this icon. It seems to make no difference at all. This one that you're seeing, there's 2 RTTY screens here. Because what we've done, let me turn it off first. Okay. So this is now just MMTTY. And here it is. Now this screen is set up here, and it has all kinds of settings. Okay. RX Windows add to grab window. You want that checked, especially if you're using two. But I don't add dupes, so you can see the two I have checked. Over here, this call sign validity and highlight routines, I'm using master super check partial. I'm using a call history file. I'm using previously logged contest queues. So if you work somebody that was new, he'll highlight the next time. And I'm using a combination of this. They have another routine that figures out call signs. And so I'm using every possible thing to highlight. So this is MMTTY, and if it copies a call sign, it's going to highlight it. Now it's not copying it because I'm on a dummy load, but so to set up another decoder, you click on Setup, add RX window, and I've already added this one, so I'm kind of cheating here. And then you enable it. Oops, did it work? Okay. So I now have two windows. You can have as many as you want. There's 3 or 4. Oftentimes people use gritty. I haven't actually tried that recently. So we have 2 tuning indicators. And I have turned off all kinds of stuff. And you go in here to set up MMTTY. I changed the color so it's a nice color. You can see here it's not, you need to make sure you're on the right, this is the icon for the sound card. And I've evidently confused it. Now I am doing push to talk and FSK on a COM port. This computer has a COM port. And I am using the 13-pin ICOM connector, and I have FSK and push to talk hooked up to it. Rig control is happening via the ICOM USB connector, but you could do it. That's part of the problem. I let somebody in now. That's part of the problem is there's more than one path to Rome. And I am a big fan of hardware COM ports. So that's where my FSK is coming from. And here, I'm using a COM port FSK. It's selected, right? That's how you select it. Now, if you're using a sound card FSK, you select that one. each thing is a little different, and there's different ways you can hook it up. So let me. Okay, when you go to this, oh, you'll notice that this thing has most everything else turned off. There's a bunch of words and stuff over here. I just turn all that stuff off, and you just do that right in the setup. Oh, that's.
Where in setup do you turn those things off?
I don't know. I was looking for it. Hold on. The problem is if you don't turn them off, you can change them, and it screws you up. But, where is this? Oh, and Flex radios have lots of fun things. I'm not sure. I'll have to find that. No, I'm not. And that's the same with this little interface thing. You'll see you can have up to 24 keys programmed down here, and they take up a whole bunch of room. I don't do that, so. Okay. AFC and net are two interesting things, and it changes the frequency of your radio. And it does it kind of automatically, depending if you're running or searching and bouncing. And okay, so these screens are, oh, there's the guy that's highlighted. So the way I set this up, whoops, he went away. One of the things you want to do is get the screen okay. So I would say that's a little bit too wide, so I'm going to narrow it up. That's a typical CQ message buffer. You end in CQ and you start in CQ. And I like to put the name of the contest there, and you put your call sign. We'll look at buffers in a minute, but so I narrow these screens up, and they're going to scroll. They continuously scroll. And that's one of the things I don't like about N1M. It's they kind of, you have a, oh, there it is right there. So now I'm not a great mouse person. I type really well, and so you saw that call sign was in the grab box. That means that it thought this was a valid call sign. I use ESM, so the insert key grabbed that, sent the exchange 59903 Washington, and it knows that that guy is in zone 14, or thinks it is. I'm not quite sure what this call sign is, but anyway, and then I hit enter. And that sends the thank you, and I don't use QRZ, I use CQ again. That's so the RBN people keep picking me up. It's searching for that CQ. It logged it, it sent the exchange. That's it. I use two keys, and I hit enter again. And that's how hard RTTY contesting is. I'm using two keys, insert and enter.
Jay, this This is Jay.
Hi, Jay.
Yeah, when you're hitting enter, what it's going to do, it's going to send the highlighted function key down in your enter window, right? I don't know if you said that before.
Right. Yes, it is. The
So
ESM sends that, correct. So, and F1 is CQ. Yeah, that's a great point. And if you're in search and pounce, it's going to send something else. So enter's going to send what's highlighted. So ESM is absolutely the awesomest thing of N1MN, and it works really well. I'm not familiar with N3FJP, but WriteLog works virtually identical. It's a little different from run and search and pounce. In fact, and if you start changing frequency,
Question, Jay?
yes,
The N in this to the immediate left of your two decoder engines, that N1MM panel, right where your mouse is. I notice that it's split. Could you explain two things? One is, how did you achieve that split? And what's the difference between the upper window and the lower window?
Oh, yes, the upper window is MMTTY, and it's using this tuning indicator.
Okay.
The bottom window, we added a second receive-only decoder of two-tone.
Right.
And I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I haven't used this program for a couple of years, but it looks like you can just use two-tone now if you want. And if that was the case, I would just use two-tone.
That's interesting, because what I've been following along, launching as I go, I have both the MMTTY engine running now,
Okay.
and a two-tone, but my window is not split on the N1MM panel.
Oh, go to enable.
Oh, enable.
And that
Where-
should split it right there.
I'm not seeing enable anywhere. Could you? Oh, where did you
see my
find?
screen?
Oh, yeah. Add. Well, yeah, mine's enabled, and it's still not split.
And it's not split. Oh, is your path set?
Yeah, the path's set. I mean, both engines are running successfully. I had not add an open window. I did that. Bang! Now I'm split, and I'm
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was doing earlier. That was weird.
You moved a little too quick for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's what this is all about. It's getting stuff working, and so.
A question on that one.
Yeah.
So where do you set the path for two-tone, and where do you put two-tone? The app or whatever it is. Okay, I didn't see that window earlier.
Yeah, I think I didn't go in there. Let's add a gritty window type. Let's add a gritty. Oh, I don't have gritty, so I can't add it.
Yeah, I see two-tone at the bottom of the list.
Right.
And then somewhere you have to load up two-tone applications somewhere to point to.
Right there. I put two-tone in MMTTY directory.
Okay, you can just go out on the internet and find two-tone, I assume.
Yeah, there's links in the PowerPoint.
Okay, we'll watch for that. Thanks, Jay.
It's on RTTYcontesting.com and downloads. So
Let me say, after we finish, I will put up on the user group the PowerPoint that has the links to all of the programs and even the tutorial. I'll put it up within an hour after the group.
Super.
Thanks, Mel.
Okay, so we can.
Jay?
Excuse me?
Comment, Jim.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, just you might interject. that this thing will support a lot of different engines. And if they didn't like MMTTY, like for instance, I use FLDigi, different setup and stuff, but just whatever they prefer. You know, you can't have multiple engines.
Right, and it does hardware TNC, and it does the HAL Communications DXB38, which actually runs all HAL communications hardware modems. Yeah, no, and you can. And I think, oh, now I got several windows here. That's pretty fun, huh?
And they all have little different features, so whatever
Yeah.
suits
And
your
under two-tone, the setup of two-tone is pretty straightforward. You just tell it your radio sound card or other sound card. You don't do anything with transmit. I just leave it as AFSK, and it's a receive only window. But there's different filters, and you can do those as you're receiving. Flutter is for that's for working Europeans. And in fact, most of the time I use Flutter. Somewhere there's a write-up on some of these. Spread works pretty good on 80 meters. Flat, I think, is worthless. And you can actually make a couple of different two-tones. And in fact, if you cannot run MMTTY, you had to before, and I think it looks like they've changed that. But we'll see. Okay. And you're right, for some reason it seems to be kind of weird how that works. So the tools, and you should start, I mean, the contest, CQ Worldwide's coming up this week, so you can download the latest logger manual, and they have an extensive PDF manual. You can grab the latest country file. You can import the country list. That's the file it just downloaded. And it automatically, when you start it up, it asks you about getting the new versions. And part of the problem with N1MM is that there's maybe, I don't know, 20 to 50 guys that work on this program. And once you get one that's working, then I like to set it up, and I don't, until after the contest, I'm not for downloading a new copy unless somebody says there's something terrible wrong. So, window, Telnet. This is where you hook up to the cluster. I sent the guy a note because my cluster for some reason isn't in there, and that's okay. I just find it kind of curious, but so I have put mine in here, and the name of mine is WS7I-1, and it's ws7i.eward.org. colon 7300 or 7373. I actually run 2 ports.
Jay, when I hooked up to it Friday, mine required 7300.
Okay. Yeah, 7300 is the normal port. Either one should work. This is where you check your bands and modes. Now I do most of this using VE7CC on the cluster, so but I did go ahead and put that in here. So I don't want to see any 10 meg spots during the RTTY contest, because if you click on it and start working them, it's kind of weird. So let's look at okay. This is the log I'm running in RTTY World-wide, and I've been messing with it.
I have a question about logs. When you open N1MM and you go to file, and now I'm getting ready for a contest, do you start a new log or do you just add it to an existing log?
No, start a new log. Here, we're going to do that.
Yeah, Mel, I pretty much one file per contest, one log per contest.
Yeah, new log in database. It knows the contest, so RTTY World-wide. Start date. It knows when it starts. You put in your exchange here, and it's going to use this in the function keys. So 03 Washington is what we use, 03 Idaho for folks that are over there. So now it's starting a new one. Okay. These are what functions keys look like. This is a file that's found in your documents folder under N1MM. We'll go down there and look at it. It might be easier to visualize. Okay, let's get rid of some of this stuff. Call history files. Well, here's the call history file. These are all the folks that been in the I think this is actually all the American folks. So it's going to store the guy's state. And that's kind of key. So these are available on the N1MM site, and there's other places, but that's where that one came from. Here's the function keys. There's some defaults. The defaults are uniformly in, I don't know, it's even Don, AA5AU that built this thing. He has some of the stupidest default messages I've ever looked at. Here's my defaults. CQ, and this is part of this is the run. That's the label CQ, and that showed up. Randy showed you where that was highlighted on the, down here.
I would love to have those macro files, Mel, if you could. Let me tell you, because I agree that the defaults are, they leave me scratching my head like, what the hell's that supposed to mean?
Right. Well, you're more than welcome. Send me an email, or I could send. I've got several defaults here. I'd be glad to share them. I actually email people. I'm not a big N1MM guy. I tell you, if I was doing a CW contest, Randy or WWW would be getting an email. It's like, hey, I need send me an example. So it's like you'll see in my exchange. This is this explanation is his call sign, and I'm sending an extra Washington. So it says 59903 Washington, Washington. And actually, I could just put that in there and get this exchange. This it's picking up from that contest thing. It knows who you are. I send his call sign here. And then thank you. Then my call, and then CQ. F4 just sends my call a couple of times. F5 sends his call. This F6 is, this is the way, F6 is how you do really well in RTTY contests, and probably CW and everything else. But this thing works. I'll show you. Let me shrink this down for a second. This little box here is the grab box. And his calls are highlighted. His calls are highlighted. They stack up in here. And so let's say we're working. Okay, he's in Washington. And there used to be a way you could type them in here. Well, if there's another one in here, then instead of hitting my enter key, I'm going to send the F6 key. And that didn't really work. Huh. Because he should have sent his call sign. I didn't, well, so that didn't work at all.
But there wasn't anything in the grab. Did it need to call in the grab?
Yeah, I can't. That's why setting up this software, there's some practice sessions on Friday night before the contest starts, or on Thursday night. It'll be Thursday night for this contest, because the contest starts at 00 on Friday. So you've got to get on and check all your buffers. And it's just like, I haven't checked this one, but it should work. But it should grab the next call sign, move it down here. And then if you got 4 or 5, this is how the big boys, this is how they win contests. Because they just sit there and keep hitting that key and working one after another. And they don't get in a very big hurry, because all those tail enders and all those people that are sort of transmitting on top of each other, they just keep adding up in the grab box. And it makes running a real pleasure.
Hey, Jay.
Yep.
In that grab box, though, do you find that it fills it with some crap?
Yep.
But not the correct calls and stuff like that?
Yep.
It'll grab that, though, too, won't it?
Yeah, and then you go up here and you change you do mults first. This is where you stack it. And yeah, if it's bothersome, you can change the highlighting routine. Where is the highlighting routine? You change the highlighting routine, and I do away with theirs and just use super check partial, and then it won't grab garbage. But you're right, well, it's like that call sign I grabbed earlier, that 91, whatever it was. Well,
Also, your F6, I think, as a default, it's a spare. So that
yeah,
would be
that's
nice
why
if you
I put
did
that there. That's why I put it there. So
Yeah,
it
hopefully
should log the first guy. Log it, grab the next one, send now, and then send F5 his call, and F2, which is the exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it should work.
Leave that open. What?
It looks like it should work, but that's
yeah, please, thank you.
That's on the Telnet window. I don't know, Randy might be able to tell me. Used to be normally I would minimize this, but I don't think that, I think you have to sort of like hide it, like down there. So it's still running, otherwise it won't grab your spots. For,
If you minimize it, it'll be okay, Jay.
oh, it will? Okay.
Yes, and it will still show up on
Okay, that's great.
on the band map.
Yeah. And also this window, which is the mults, available mults and queues, it's grabbing this stuff. And I don't know, I guess there's no RTTY on today. During salmon run, we would have had some. You can change this to mults only. So you're sitting here watching this, and if you get a hot molt, you just click on it, it changes the frequency over to that guy, and you nail him, and then you go back, pick your run frequency. There's a key to do that. I don't remember what it is, but you click back on your run frequency and you're back to running. So you're running along here. K7TQ, he knows that if you call him and you can't hear him, it's me. So we work him, and then we see a really juicy molt, and you click on him. And you move up here to 14120. And you work HC5J. Oops. Too many times. Oh, I already logged him. Okay. That's nice. Got to be a little careful switching from search and bounce to run. So that's at that point I might hit you'll see in some of these, I mean, the only thing you need in this state is the guy's state. You'll see people put question marks. You don't send question marks on RTTY. question marks is a figures key, and it's liable to screw up all the guys' receive. Just state. And if the guy's really stiff, you hit it 3 times. Because that's the info you're going to need. When you're using all these files, it's incumbent upon you, before you hit that enter key, to verify that guy's zone and his state. Or if it's DX station, his zone. You don't just believe this thing. Now, I know Jim's in Idaho, so I'm working in logging. And then it's like you hit Control K. And now I'm transmitting. And where's the Jim? Need you on 10 meters. USY 28088. And he's probably going to need Washington on 10 meters too. So, and I know Murph and Jim, we used to go from band to band, and you'd get Idaho on all 5 bands. It's a little harder with TQ down in Moscow because he's weak. It's harder to move him, but a guy in Post Falls is a piece of cake. So you want to make sure you get those people on all bands. Because he's a multiplier.
A question I have for you, Jay.
Yep.
If we look at the 2 decode windows, so
Yes.
the top one is MMTTY, the bottom one is two-tone, right?
Correct.
Even looking at them while they're, you're on your dummy load, they're not decoding the same. And is it normal to have so many kind of what I'd call gibberish letters?
Yeah, probably means well, RTTY Engine 1, which is MMTTY, I mean, its set sort of looks okay, but they do have a lot of faults. It's just,
You know how I cure that on FL Digi Engine? On it, there's a squelch knob. You just run it just above the noise level, and that'll get rid of a lot of the crap. I'm not sure about MTTY.
and there's I actually really dislike MMTTY, but the squelch is on two-tone, which is probably why two-tone is having a lot less hits, because they're both listed to the same sound card. But you can go into you can probably adjust a bunch of these things. I'm thinking that one right there.
Did my last comment come through, Jay? I'm not sure where my mouse was.
Yeah, sure did.
Okay.
Yeah. And FL Digi is a really nice engine. And that guy, he writes good programs. I haven't tried that one myself. But
I know that when Randy was letting me come down and contest with him one day, he had MMTTY, two-tone, and gritty all up. And to me, the two-tone was by far the best decoder.
Well, I've got a $3,000 RTTY terminal unit made by HAL Communications for the military. And it's the finest RTTY device ever made. And I would say that two-tone is 99% as good. In fact, the HAL thing is over in the storage room. And I tried to sell it, but nobody wanted to buy it. Part of the thing is that this program, N1MM, doesn't talk to it. So, but two-tone is really fine. I guess gritty is even better. I use that sometimes, but I don't really use this program all that much. Yeah, by turning that gain down, you'll notice I stopped that.
That was helpful for me to see because all of the garbage bothers me.
Yeah, well, I don't like it either. I just turned the gain from 200 to 100. Because the sound cards in these radios are pretty hot. They're pretty good sound cards. And we're somewhere. Oh, that's the one thing I might tell you. When you set this window up, I changed this. I guess it's up here. There's a lot of places to go. Settings.
Jay,
Yes.
if you want it to not scroll, if you want your decode window to not scroll, right there.
Yeah, that's what I had with non-scroll. Where do you change the font size? Do you know that, Randy?
I'm sorry, I was talking when you did, so I didn't hear what you said.
Do you know where you change the font? This font here?
Usually in N1MM, there's a little arrow in the upper right-hand corner of each window that you can change, like over here on the band map, but I don't see those. Oh, here it is, right next to your cursor, over to the right, those. Click on that upper arrow.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I like to get this stuff so I can read it. And I mean, it's so your spots are so hooking up to your radio. If you get the radio control working, this radio is running RTTY, so it's doing FSK. There's not a lot to setting up an icon that's running FSK. So this is the thing that tells you where to get all the software that Mel's going to send out. I think that's about, sort of briefly, all I have. We can, secrets to RTTY contesting. I can tell you that search and pounce window. I listened to your contest thing the other day, Randy, and this thing will just fill up. And you can do it by bands. You can do all the bands, or you can, and you just click on this. This is even slicker than clicking on the band map, because it'll change over. If you're running like I'm going to run low power, and I'm using a vertical, and it's good for all 5 bands. So I'm just going to click over here, and you can just click right down this road and work them. And you start with mults. And the real secret RTTY contesting is just to get on and have fun. On Fridays, you work the Pacific, because Friday nights Pacific time, you work JAs. So you got to be up at sunrise, so that means Mel's got to get out of bed at 6:30. And if he doesn't get out of bed at 6:30, he'll never do well in a contest. And because Sunday there aren't any JAs on Sunday, and
because it's Monday.
Because it's Monday, and that's sort of the situation. Do we have any questions?
I have a question, Jay.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I'm just trying to pick up on a couple of your secrets. That first one about in the run mode, don't use QRZ, use CQ. That's a good one. I'm going to switch mine. But I missed the one about no question mark. What was the reason for that?
Well, question marks, it really has, they don't have numbers and letters, and so they have a letters key and a numbers key. And so whenever a question mark is found, it's a numbers, it's not a letters. And so everybody knows if you send state, you don't need to send state question mark, or you don't need to send again question mark. And I don't know why for so many years all those things were set up that way, but they have been. I'm not sure why, but I don't send question marks. They're just totally unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, it all goes back to the mechanical teletype days. I mean, I spent thousands of hours on watch at sea doing RAT, we called it. We didn't call it RTTY. And yeah, you never wanted to hit that figures key to shift everything up into figures mode, because then all you got was gibberish if it didn't unshift. So the beauty of, and I'm not sure where it gets toggled within N1MM, the unshift on space. So as soon as you hit the space bar, it drops it back into letters mode as opposed to the figures mode, because obviously you want to communicate in English using letters and not a bunch of crosshatch and everything else that's in the figures mode. I had a question, Jay. When you're operating in the contest, are you using the function keys of the logging window, or from the RTTY window? And if you've got one, why is there the other?
Well, I don't use function keys. I use ESM, and you turn on ESM right here, where enter sends message. And so if you're running, enter is gonna, do you see the yellow F1 on run?
Yes.
Okay, if I hit the enter key, it'll send that function.
Okay. But if say you're in search and pounce, and you see his call and you capture it, and click on it from a window.
Okay. If
How
I'm
then?
in,
Go ahead.
okay, I'm in search and pounds. My call is highlighted, so I'm not sure what happened to my digital windows here, but so if I hit enter, it's going to send my call. And so he calls me. And then it's gonna shift. When he calls me, it'll know, and then enter is gonna send the report.
Okay, but how did you force it to send a report? You clicked on the function key right there.
I did that time because it's not shifting automatically because he hasn't called me. If he calls me,
Just type in a call.
yeah, let's type in a call. Good. So this is going to send my call. Whoops. You can do with the function key if you like, or you can do enter. It doesn't care.
Okay, but the point is that you're using the logging window to control the QSO as it occurs, as opposed to the.
Actually, I'm not. Okay. He sends your report. Now you'll see it's going to send F4. Search and pounce F4. The ESM is in control.
Okay, I guess
you could do it either. That's part of the problem. You could do it here. You could just click on all this stuff. Or if you had all these, I've turned them off. You can click up there too.
Oh, okay. So are they drawing from the same file where your macros are?
Yeah. Everything is from your macros.
Okay, so but the idea is that if you change the macro file, to whatever you want for your macros,
right,
they will match between the macros will match and feed both of those windows the same way.
Yeah, all three. No,
the ones in the digital interface window are defined separately from the function keys.
See, that's where I was screwing up in the past because I didn't understand what the purpose of those macro keys up in the RTTY window were versus the logging window.
If you use one of Jay's example, you could put in the digital window where his cursor is, you could program one to say, need you on 10, switch to 28088.
right.
And you would have to use the mouse to push that button to send that macro.
Yeah. So I'm
also,
a mouse person.
Jay, you're tabbing over. If you space over, you'll jump over the RST and the sent and the received RST.
Oh, I did. That is tab. I can space.
Tab doesn't work. If you do a space, it'll go over to the zone and to the state.
To the state, yeah. No, that's right. And you can change all that too. If you don't like how this thing works, you can actually go in and change all of it. And that's the really spooky thing about this stuff. There's about 10. Some of the programs, not this particular one, you can actually send function keys by a right click up here. Because some people love mice. I mean, I like typing. In fact, yeah, the space is. Let's see, it ends on it. It filled the Washington, but it has to be in zone 3. I don't know quite why it's sitting there. But
space again.
Yeah, but yeah, the 599. You can't take that off the screen. I would take that off the screen. But I haven't figured that out yet. That's why this is not. But
and one other tip for you, Jay, and others, you were erasing log entries one at a time by highlighting them and going to delete. If you want to get rid of everything in the log, in the call window where it says K7TJ, type wipe log as one word and hit the enter, and then enter again, and all your log entries will be gone.
Ah, that is a good one. Thank you, Randy.